Research's direct call service with Charles Moskowitz.
Have you been on the sidelines during this roller coaster market? Would you like to stay up to date all day long? Princeton Research's weekly market strategies offers a new text service. It's very simple. Just text updates to 95577. That's it. Then you'll receive buy recommendations or stop loss protection for each trade. Call Charles Moskowitz at Princeton Research now, 781-826-8882 for more information on Princeton Research's text update service, 95577, or PrincetonResearch.com for more information.
The one thing we've learned in this 21st century, when you invest, make sure your portfolio is balanced. Princeton Research offers more than 100 years worth of experience in the stock, commodities, and currency markets. The best way to tap into their investment experience is to subscribe to the Princeton Research Weekly Market Strategies newsletter. Call Mike King now at 702-650-3000. That's 702-650-3000. Or go to PrincetonResearch.com to subscribe.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It's 10:06 here on the East Coast, 7:06 in Las Vegas, where my king is. Well, maybe it's not quite 10:06 up in Boston. Their clocks are a little weird up there in the Northeast. Time for Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research. Don't forget the newsletter every weekend, put together by Mike King and Charles Moskowitz on emerging companies. And, guys, we have an in-studio guest today.
He didn't bring food, though, did he?
He didn't. No, he didn't bring food. Yeah, Mike, you promised that every guest would bring food into here. Oh, no, just kidding.
He brings water.
He brings water, that's right. Yeah, Scott.
To wash it down with.
That's it. Scott Tudor is with us from Great Water, Inc., and he's going to be talking to us about his company in just a little bit. But I guess, guys, of course, Mike King is our expert when it comes to the Asian nations. I think if we have any listeners in China, they may want to turn their radios off at this point. Because
the news out of China has been a little bit depressing to those who are looking for 8% growth, because it's only like 6%. Is that so bad? But the world is so accustomed to huge growth in China that when they grow slowly, it's a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, that's what seems a little weird. They're at their 4-year low, but,
it's still growing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is growing. But what I thought was really interesting, and I spotted this, was a Saturday, I guess it was, on CNBC, that nearly half of the Chinese millionaires plan to move out of the country in the next 5 years.
But, that's kind of a misnomer, because most of them say they want to move to Hong Kong.
Well,
which is,
you're right.
Part of China.
Which is part of China now. Yeah, that is interesting.
Has been since 1996. Somebody ought to put out a press release.
Yeah, right. Oh my. Well. Yeah. Well, that's kind of intriguing. But that's the whole Chinese thing, and of course now, apparently, we were talking. A little bit last week about the United States and some of the ISIS problems, and that the problems with ISIS would affect the economy. Did you hear? We have a show in the afternoon, Tom Sullivan, who's based at Fox Business, and Tom had a great story.
Gary?
Hey,
Gary.
Hey, Gary, how are you?
Fine, fellas. How are you today?
Hey, we're doing fine. But Tom had a story yesterday afternoon that ISIS was making $3 million net a day from the oil wells that they seized, and they are now, and the reason that the United States can't get a coalition out of Europe, ISIS is now selling oil at 1/2 the rate that Russia used to. Can you imagine? So now all of a sudden, the European countries are buying oil from ISIS rather than Russia, and absolutely amazing. Amazing.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. So is Gary calling from the
Connecticut.
decent part of Connecticut?
Yes, I am. Well, I think a lot of parts of Connecticut are decent, but they're all overtaxed. So I'm calling from a nice part of an overtaxed state. Absolutely.
You're in suburban New York City, in other words.
Oh, no. We never call ourselves suburban New York City. Most of the people here are escaped New York's oppressive taxes.
That's right.
Don't want to have anything to do with it.
I forgot.
But this ISIS story was in the paper I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. $3 million a day selling oil, and they sell it to the very countries that recently said they would like to be a part of a coalition to fight ISIS. So one politician is saying, yeah, we'll join you, and the other group is buying the oil from them.
Gary, they're politicians.
Thanks, Charles. Oh, my. It's absolutely
And
unbelievable.
my bipartisan attitude about them is they all suck.
Oh, goodness, if truer words have not been said. Let's just hope that that's reflected in November.
Oh, my. Well, anyway, that's...
Why are they going to start taking people like you and me instead of career politicians?
Maybe.
Because unless they are, things will not change at all.
Well, I like to be the eternal optimist that people will wake up one day and say, now, wait a second, what's going on? An example, in New York City, a bill is on the table that will give think about this now, it will give full rights to all 3 million people, all illegal aliens will have the right to vote, and any other right that an American citizen has. And that bill is on the table, put forth by 2 Democrats, and they are going to vote on that.
And now, this is a state bill? This is coming out of Albany?
New York City.
Just New York City?
This is New York. Yeah, this
How
is
do
a
they
New
do
York. No, actually, this is a New York. This is a state bill. Nope, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
This is a state bill that will allow all the rights of citizenship under the guise that if we allow that to happen, we can then tax those people that are presently working in the underground economy and not paying taxes. I mean, it's just nuts.
Well,
they get the vote and they pay some taxes. I think that's beneficial all the way around.
well, I
But
guess...
Assuming you can find them to collect
Yeah,
the
but
taxes.
remember the old days when you actually, became a citizen the way all of our ancestors did? Like we came here, we applied, we were interviewed, we were happy when we became a citizen, as opposed to breaking into the country illegally and then having a politician say, hey, for your vote, I'll pay you by giving you a citizenship. That seems ridiculous.
Well, you have to understand one thing, guys. There's been a tremendous education owning a Spanish station. That, a lot of the people that they claim may not be paying taxes are indeed paying taxes, but they're paying taxes to Social Security numbers that will only benefit the U.S. government. And obviously they don't belong to anybody. So it's like, so they will never get the benefits of Social Security from, whatever those numbers are that they're using now. That's the other side of this dirty little secret, that in a way the government has been, reaping all of these funds from these folks for years and years and years. And guess what? They're not going to have to pay anything. That's just, that's the other side of that mess. And it is. It's a total mess. And obviously, the president's not going to get involved until after the midterm elections. So,
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, yeah. It's
No political agenda there.
Yeah, it really.
So, but here's an interesting fact in the other direction.
Yep.
Last week, the State Department came out and said that if you want to give up your citizenship, it's now going to cost you a non-subsidized $4,250 as opposed to the $350 that it used to cost. There is actually a process.
Okay.
You know, it's not like you go to Mexico, you spin around 3 times and say, I don't want to be a citizen, I don't want to be a citizen, I don't want to be a citizen. There is a process to release you from tax liabilities, etc., and of course take away all your rights. And it's now going to be, seems like a drop in the bucket, $4,250, but versus what it cost before, it's now, 15 times more expensive to denounce your citizenship.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, they still have the inversion problem, and there's going to be some scandals coming out because there's going to be some major politicians that were involved with Burger King helping them to get the inversion. And, of course, they still have insider trading privileges.
Wait a minute. Okay, this is the deal with Horton Donut Place?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Tim Horton. And
yeah, I mean, they want to go after Dunkin' Donuts, right, in the U.S.? That's why they
And
did.
by the way, in the market letter, not last week, but the week before, we mentioned that another possible beneficiary of inversion, especially in Canada, is BlackBerry, which is up about 12% since that letter came out.
You just won't let that die, Charles.
Well, now there's an added reason for somebody to come in and buy it and keep it there.
Okay.
Most of the people that they talked to that they, quote, discouraged, were talking about, American companies buying what they consider to be a Canadian treasure.
Right.
I guess. But, they want to keep the employment and et cetera, So now that is another one that may work.
Huh. Well, Scott's in studio with us. What kind of a smartphone do you have?
I have an iPhone.
You got iPhone. Okay, so do you have a BlackBerry?
No, I do not.
There you are, Charles. Does anybody
You
else
have to tell me.
Does anybody else in this panel have a BlackBerry other than Charles?
Well,
I think
I discontinued using mine about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
It just sits on
I
my,
know. Yeah.
on the desk.
There you go. Hey, well, just updating you a little bit about our communications business. Lovely Netflix is taking Europe by storm, and they're going to become the next gigantic cable operator over there. They've launched a number of European countries this week, and it's going to be huge. The Daily Telegram in London is saying that this is the next big thing since World War II, I guess. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's kind of interesting the way that they have crossed over, Greg, and you say they're going to become the next cable company, but they've crossed over so that there are several shows on TV now that are, for lack of a better way of putting it, serial kind of series.
Oh, sure.
Where, where the plot line runs through, a whole season or something.
Yeah.
And they're on stations like TNT and A&E and Network, and the ads that I've been seeing for the last couple of days are all announcing the new seasons, which start anytime from this coming Monday through the first week in October.
Right.
And they're saying, and if you want to binge watch and catch up on last season, just go to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So they've crossed over a great deal.
Oh, yeah, they're programmers.
Into, buying content or renting content from individual stations, syndicated stations, stations that, 20 years ago would have been on the UHF tuner.
Right.
And, it's just amazing the inroads that they have made. And now, instead of not only creating their own content, they're partnering with some of these guys to get content that, you never would have expected them to have access to.
Yeah, and they're going to be looking for, as you guys well know, that where we're going to eventually be going with the WPSL TV. They're looking for alternative programming as well. They're going to be very interested in what we're going to be doing in the sports area, and with the local shows like this one, that Netflix may set up a separate channel just for this. So yeah, I know where you're going. It's all alternative stuff, and it's the nature of the beast right now, and as we were talking a couple weeks ago, cable is still going to be there, but watching television shows on cable may not be there in 10 years. It may be a utility like our phones were, but it's going to be different. It's going to be a lot different. So yeah, it's very cool. Very, very cool. So what else is going on in the world of Connecticut outside of taxes?
What we have been seeing is a fairly large amount of hedge funds have left Greenwich and have gone down to more friendlier states, in particular Florida. These are things that are making the local news here. A hedge fund, another one, another investment banking company. There's
No
still a
state
lot
tax in Florida.
That's right.
Well, exactly. Now, having said that, there's still a number of hedge funds here, but the outflow is concerning because it's a significant revenue source. So as those new managers decide not to set up shop relatively close to New York City and more of a friendlier tax haven, it's created some issues here. Some people are truly concerned, and they should be, because a lot of tax revenue for Greenwich comes from those businesses. So that's one thing that's on people's minds up here.
Well, and also if you look just a few miles west of you, in that absolute no, I cannot say on the air that it's
Sure you can.
It's the armpit of Connecticut, Bristol, Connecticut. But in that area, obviously, the ESPN has created a brand new television network. And where is it based? Not in Bristol, but in Charlotte, North Carolina. And more, what you're going to see, even though ESPN has invested gazillions of dollars in Bristol, you're going to see some farming out. I mean, they already, what we kind of created in Los Angeles for them is now a reality across the street from Staples Center. So they now have a full broadcast network operation out of Los Angeles. Now they'll have yet another one in Charlotte. And don't be too surprised if they go somewhere else, whether it's Tampa or whether it's maybe in Miami. I mean, it's a reality, and Charles hit it on the head. It's or even Mike, you may even get one in Las Vegas. The state taxes. I mean, it's businesses are looking ahead. They have to. It's kind of interesting. And let's talk